This is our world, home to about 6.9 billion people living across 195 different countries. There are many kinds of lines that divide our world: the equator, the prime meridian, longitudes, and latitudes. These lines are all imaginary. There are more real lines that divide our world. Lines which, depending on which side you are in, determines whether one has a better chance at life. Like whether or not one could access programs that prevent, treat, and provide care for life-threatening health conditions like HIV and AIDS. There is a line which divides our world between the wealthy developed nations, known as the Global North, which has only 25% of the world population but owns 85% of its wealth, and the poorer developing countries or the Global South, home to half of the world's population but which own only 6% of its wealth. HIV and AIDS take a heavy toll on individuals, families, and communities. More so, if a person is poor, a child, or a woman. Children leave school to care for their sick parents or are orphaned by AIDS. Wives caring for infected husbands or who themselves are infected are ostracized, and widows are forced to leave their homes and land. Asia and the Pacific have about 5 million people living with HIV. In 2008 alone, more than 80,000 adults and children died due to AIDS. Without the right intervention, these numbers will rise. The Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria provides 1/5 of all financings for AIDS. In 2010, the Global Fund got $11.7 billion commitment from donors to fund its 2011 to 2013 program. That seems like a lot of money. But the Global Fund needs at least $13 billion just to sustain the current AIDS response. To ensure that universal access to HIV and AIDS treatment is met by 2015, it needs $20 billion. Where is the money for HIV and AIDS? Let's look at some of the donor countries. The United States has budgeted $6.5 billion to the global AIDS response for 2011. This seems like an awful lot of money, until you compare it to $719 billion they budgeted for military spending, and the $2.5 trillion commitment made to bail out banks and financial system during the recent economic crisis. Meanwhile, the European Union reportedly distributed $70 billion in agricultural subsidies in 2009, compared to $2.7 billion to the global HIV and AIDS response. Donors are calling for more efficient fund spending by recipient countries, as well as guarding against corruption and funds misappropriation. But at the same time, let us call for the abolition of global policies and power relationships that severely restrict our country's abilities to invest in our health. Lack of funding for HIV and AIDS violates people's basic human rights to life, dignity, and health. Retreating on HIV and AIDS funding commitments is not an option for government. Remember those lines that divide our world? It is time those lines are erased so we would not live in a world so divided. We ask donor countries, where is the money for HIV and AIDS? Take action. Pledge to fight for money for HIV and AIDS. Support initiatives that monitor your country's spending of HIV and AIDS funds and that ask your government to account for the money. Especially ask, where is the money to support HIV and AIDS programs among most affected communities? Learn more about the issue at www.moneyforaids.org.